Hey there, English learners. Welcome to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking. I'm so excited to have you join me today. If you're looking to really boost your English skills, especially your listening and speaking, then you've definitely come to the right place. Our goal here, is to make learning English fun, practical, and effective, so you can sound more natural when you speak. And boy, oh boy, do we have a fantastic topic lined up for you today. We're diving deep into the wonderful, sometimes tricky, world of phrasal verbs. Specifically, we're going to explore, get ready for this, 20, yep, that's right, 20 super useful phrasal verbs in English that you can start using right away. These aren't just random words. These are verbs that native speakers use all the time in everyday conversations. So, you're going to learn what they mean, how to use them, and hopefully you'll feel much more confident incorporating them into your own speech. I've even got a little story prepared for you later that's packed with these phrasal verbs so you can hear them in action. Before we jump into all that amazing learning, if you're enjoying what you hear and you find our content helpful, please take a quick moment to like this episode. It really helps us out, you know? And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our future lessons. Sharing is caring too, so if you have friends or family who are also learning English, consider sharing this podcast with them. And hey, I love hearing from you. So don't be shy. Leave a comment down below with any thoughts, questions, or even topics you'd like us to cover in the future. Your feedback helps us improve and grow. All right, enough of the intros. Let's get started with today's adventure into phrasal verbs. So, to really help these phrasal verbs sink in, I thought, why don't I tell you a little story? A story about, well, a recent day I had. It wasn't anything super dramatic, just a regular Tuesday, but it had a few unexpected twists that, allowed me to use quite a few of these phrasal verbs naturally. And when I say naturally, I mean, just like you would in a real conversation. So lean back, relax, and let's dive into my Tuesday. Okay, so picture this. It was early morning, still a bit dark outside. My alarm started ringing, and as usual, I tried to ignore it for a few minutes. I was in that lovely half-sleep state, dreaming about, I don't even remember now. But then, my mischievous cat Luna decided it was playtime, so she started nudging me with her head and purring really loudly, right next to my ear. That's when I finally, managed to wake up. I mean, really wake up, not just hit snooze again. I looked at the clock, and it was about 6:30 a.m. After a few stretches, yawning widely, I very slowly, started to get up. From bed. You know those mornings, right? Where your bed just feels extra comfy, and you just don't want to leave it? Yeah, that was one of those. First thing, I usually put on some comfy clothes like sweatpants and a t-shirt before heading straight to the kitchen for that essential first cup of coffee. Oh, I love my morning coffee. It's non-negotiable. And then, as I walked past the living room, I remembered I had left the living room lamp on all night. Silly me. So I quickly went to turn off the light. I don't know why I always do that sometimes, forgetting to switch things off. It's a habit I'm really trying to break, honestly. It feels like such a waste of electricity. Breakfast was quick, just some toast with a bit of jam. I always try to get by with a simple, easy-to-prepare meal on busy weekdays. No elaborate cooking for me in the morning. I was really looking forward to That coffee, though, it truly helps me kickstart my day and get my brain working. As I was sipping my coffee and just sort of, casually scrolling through my phone, I suddenly came across an old photo of my friends and me from a trip we took to the mountains last year. It was such a fun memory, and it made me smile. A nice little morning surprise amidst the usual routine. Then it was time to get ready for work. My colleague David had asked me earlier in the week to pick up some important documents from a client's office on my way into our main office. He said they were crucial for a presentation later that day, so I made a mental note of it. After that, I also needed to drop off a package at the post office. It was a birthday gift for my cousin. So, a busy start to the workday, trying to juggle multiple tasks. On my way to the client's office, you won't believe who I ran into. My old university friend, Sarah. We literally bumped into each other outside a coffee shop. We hadn't seen each other in ages, like 5 years, maybe even more. We stopped right there, caught up for a good 15 minutes, standing on the sidewalk. It was totally unexpected, but a really pleasant surprise. We laughed a lot and promised to properly meet up for lunch next week. It's funny how life just throws these little moments at you, isn't it? So, after successfully dropping off the package and picking up the documents, I was finally heading towards the office. I was feeling pretty good despite the early start. But then disaster struck, literally. My car suddenly started making this awful grinding noise, like something was tearing apart, and then, it just completely broke down in the middle of a fairly busy street. Oh man, I was so frustrated. Cars were beeping behind me, and I just felt so helpless. I had to pull over to the side and call roadside assistance. They told me it would be an hour, maybe even more, before they could get to me. Just great. While waiting, I tried to find out what was wrong by looking under the hood, but I honestly have absolutely no idea about car engines. It was just a confusing mess of wires and metal, so I quickly gave up trying to fix it myself. There was just no point pretending to be a mechanic, right? I'm definitely not one. I called my boss to explain the situation, and thankfully, he was super understanding. He suggested I just work from home for the rest of the day, which was a huge relief, honestly. At least I wouldn't lose a whole day of work. So, I decided I'd have to put off my other errands until the car was fixed, or at least until I knew what was happening with it. And my big team meeting, well, we had to call off on that meeting that was scheduled for that afternoon. It just couldn't happen without me there. And, without a projector, actually, which I also needed to collect from the office. We decided to reschedule it for Friday instead, hoping everything would be back to normal by then. The tow truck finally arrived, and my car was taken to the garage. The mechanic said he'd look into it first thing tomorrow morning and call me with an estimate. Fingers crossed it won't be too expensive. I ended up taking a taxi home, which was, a bit expensive, but what can you do? Sometimes things just don't go as planned. Once I got back home, the first thing I did, literally the first thing, was take off. My work clothes, my slightly sweaty shirt and trousers, and put on my comfy sweatpants again. Ah, pure bliss. I was feeling a bit down after the car trouble naturally, but I decided to make the absolute best of the situation. I thought, okay, what can I do to make this afternoon productive and, maybe even enjoyable? I had to come up with, a new plan for my afternoon, since my work plans were, completely derailed by the car incident, I decided to focus on some writing projects that I could easily do from home. Plus, I figured it was a good chance to finally deal with all those emails that had been piling up in my inbox. You know, those ones you always say you'll get to later? Yeah, those. The ones that just keep multiplying. I cleared out so many of them, it felt like a real accomplishment. As the afternoon went on, I felt a bit better, surprisingly. The sun even started to come outward from behind the clouds, making the room much brighter and lifting my spirits a little. I decided to treat myself to some homemade cookies that I had baked over the weekend. Baking and eating fresh cookies always helps me relax. And after successfully clearing my inbox and making some really good progress on my writing, I started to cheer up quite a bit. It wasn't the day I had planned at all. Definitely not. But it certainly ended up being productive and, dare I say, a little bit relaxing in its own unique, unexpected way. Sometimes you just have to adapt, right? So, that was my Tuesday. A day that started with an early wake up and a slow get up, followed by putting on clothes and remembering to turn off all lights. I tried to get by with a simple breakfast, really looking forward to my coffee. Then I came across an old photo and had to pick up documents and drop off at the package. I unexpectedly ran into an old friend, only for my car to break down. I tried to find out half the problem, but had to give up. We had to put off errands and call off a meeting. The mechanic would look into town the car. Back home, I took off my formal clothes and had to come up with new plans, which helped me deal with tasks and eventually cheer up. See? So many phrasal verbs, all woven into one regular, slightly chaotic but ultimately good day. I hope hearing them in context makes them a bit clearer and more memorable for you. What do you think? Did you catch all 20? All right, so you've heard the story, right? All those little bits of my slightly crazy Tuesday, peppered with some very common and useful phrasal verbs. Now, let's break them down one by one, shall we? This is where you really get to understand what they mean and how you can, use them yourself. Don't worry if you didn't catch all of them in the story. That's totally fine. The goal is to make them clear for you now. So, let's start from the very beginning of my day with the first phrasal verb, wake up. This simply means to stop sleeping, to become conscious. In my story, I said, that's when I finally managed to wake up. You could also say something like, I always wake up early on Mondays. Or, what time do you usually wake up? It's a pretty straightforward one, but super common. Next, after waking up, you usually get up, right? This means to leave your bed, to stand up. I mentioned I slowly, very slowly started to get up from bed. You might use this when talking about a lazy morning, like, it was so cold, I didn't want to get up. Or if you're feeling energetic, I got up with the sun this morning. Then I talked about putting on clothes. So, phrasal verb number 3, put on. This means to dress yourself in something, to place clothing on your body. I said, first thing, I usually put on some comfy clothes. You might tell a friend, don't forget to put on your coat, it's chilly outside. Or, I need to put on my glasses to read. It's pretty simple, right? After that, I remembered to turn off the light. This means to stop a machine or a light from working, usually by pressing a button or switch. My example was, so I quickly went to turn off the light. You'd use this often, like, please turn off the TV when you leave the room. Or, did you remember to turn off the oven? Moving on to breakfast, I said I try to get by with a simple meal. To get by means to manage to live or do things, often with difficulty or with just enough resources. So, I always try to get by with a simple, easy-to-prepare meal on busy weekdays. You could also say, it's hard to get by on such a small salary, meaning it's difficult to manage financially. Or, we can get by with just one car for now. It implies managing with minimal effort or resources. Then, the coffee. I was really looking forward to it. This phrasal verb means to feel pleased and excited about something that is going to happen in the future. I mentioned I was really looking forward to that coffee, though. You often hear people say, I'm really looking forward to my vacation next month, or, are you looking forward to the concert? It expresses anticipation, you know? As I was scrolling through my phone, I came across an old photo. To come across means to find something or meet someone by chance, unexpectedly. My example was, I suddenly came across an old photo of my friends and me. You could say, I came across an interesting article online yesterday. Or, while cleaning the attic, I came across some old letters. It's, about accidental discovery. Next up, work errands. I had to pick up some documents. To pick up means to collect someone or something from a place. My colleague asked me to pick up some important documents from a client's office. You might say, can you pick up the kids from school today? Or, I need to pick up my dry cleaning. Simple, right? And then I had to drop off a package. This is kind of the opposite of pick up. To drop off means to take someone or something to a place and leave them there. I said, I also needed to drop off a package at the post office. So, you could use it like, I'll drop you off at the train station on my way to work. Or, could you drop off this report at reception? Then came the unexpected meeting. I ran into my old university friend, Sarah. To run into. Someone means to meet them unexpectedly, by chance. I remember saying, you won't believe who I ran into. My old university friend, Sarah. Another common way to use this is, I ran into my former boss at the supermarket the other day. It's a nice way to describe a spontaneous meeting, and then the car trouble. My car completely broke down. When a machine or vehicle breaks down, it stops working. That was definitely not fun. My car suddenly started making this awful grinding noise, and then, it just completely broke down. You could also say, the washing machine broke down, so I have to do laundry by hand. Or, our old computer keeps breaking down. It's never good news when something breaks down. While waiting for help, I tried to find out, what was wrong with the car. To find out means to discover a fact or a piece of information. I said, while waiting, I tried to find out what was wrong by looking under the hood. You'd use this often, like, I need to find out when the next meeting is. Or, did you find out why he left so early? It's about getting information. Since I couldn't fix the car, I quickly gave up trying. To give up means to stop trying to do something, to quit. I said, so I quickly gave up trying to fix it myself. This one is really common. For example, don't give up on your dreams, even if it's hard. Or, she gave up smoking last year. Because of the car breaking down, I had to put off my other errands. To put off means to postpone something, to delay doing it until a later time. So, I decided I'd have to put off my other errands until the car was fixed. You might say, never put off until tomorrow what you can do today, which is a famous proverb. Or, we had to put off our trip due to the bad weather. And we also had to call off the team meeting. To call off means to cancel something that was planned. My example was, and my big team meeting, well, we had to call off that meeting that was scheduled for that afternoon. You might hear, they had to call off the football game because of the heavy rain. Or, the concert was called off at the last minute. The mechanic said he would look into the car. To look into something means to investigate or examine it carefully, especially to find out the truth about a problem or situation. So, the mechanic said he'd look into it first thing tomorrow morning. You could say, the company is looking into the customer's complaint, or the police are looking into the cause of the accident. Once I got home, the first thing I did was chill my work clothes. To take off means to remove an item of clothing or an accessory from your body. I mentioned, once I got back home, the first thing I did was take off my work clothes. You might say, please take off your shoes before entering the house. Or, it's hot in here. I'm going to take off my sweater. Even though the day was a mess, I had to come up with a new plan for my afternoon. To come up with means to think of an idea, a plan, a solution, or a suggestion. I said, I had to come up with a new plan for my afternoon, since my work plans were, completely derailed. You might ask, can you come up with a better idea for the party? Or, we need to come up with a solution to this problem quickly. And then, I decided to deal with all those emails piling up. To deal with means to take action to solve a problem or to handle a situation or person. So, plus, I figured it was a good chance to finally deal with all those emails that had been piling up. You could also say, she's very good at dealing with difficult customers. Or, how do you deal with stress? It means to handle or manage something. Finally, after getting things done, I started to cheer up. To cheer up means to become happier or to make someone else happier. I said, and, after successfully clearing my inbox and making some really good progress on my writing, I started to cheer up quite a bit. You might tell a friend, don't be sad, cheer up. Or, I bought her some flowers to cheer her up. So there you have it. All 20 of those phrasal verbs from my story, broken down with their meanings and, extra examples. I hope hearing them in different contexts helps you understand them better. It's really about practicing them, you know? Try using them in your own sentences. That's how they'll really, stick in your mind. All right, so we've covered quite a lot today, haven't we? 20 really useful phrasal verbs, all wrapped up in a slightly chaotic but, hopefully relatable story about my day. Remember, the key to mastering these isn't just knowing their definitions, but seeing how they're used in context and then, trying them out yourself. Don't be afraid to experiment with them in your own conversations and writing. That's how they'll really become a natural part of your English. Thank you so much for tuning in to English Podcast for Listening and Speaking today. I really hope this episode has helped you feel more confident about using phrasal verbs. If you found this useful, please, consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on any future English learning content. It really helps us grow. Keep practicing, and I'll talk to you next time.